What's up, guys? We are back with a full slate of MLB action here on Friday, June 7th. We had a perfect day there on Thursday, guys. Everything in our pinned comment worked out for us. We hit the Mariners minus 132, the Braves minus 170. That one came through for us also. We nailed our biggest bet of the day and one of our biggest bets here in recent history on the Yankees minus 140. That one went great. Had a little rain delay there, hoping things wouldn't mess that up, and it sure did not. They finished it off strong. We also hit the Reds minus 130. That is a perfect 4-0 day. We will certainly take that. Let's see if we can stay on track here heading into the weekend, heading into Friday. First, guys, do me a big favor and hit that like button. It's a great way to show some support for the channel and all the work we put in here every single day. If you're new, go ahead and subscribe. It's 100% free and can keep you from missing out on these picks. Our videos are sponsored by StumpTheSpread.com. Click the link in the description and go over there and join our free email list and check out our top confidence plays on all the major sports. Comment below with all the bets you're looking at today and we'll give you our best advice on all of them. We respond to absolutely every single comment, so let us know anything you want to say about my picks, these videos, or anything you see here. As always, our final picks will be in the pinned comment down below. Now let's get into our first game of the day. We've got the Milwaukee Brewers taking on the Detroit Tigers. So unfortunately, guys, for this game, we don't have any numbers released as of yet. We also don't have a confirmed starter here for the Brewers. The Brewers come into this game fresh off of getting swept by the Phillies, so that can't feel great. That series in Philadelphia for them did not work out. We don't know who they're going to be running out there. We saw them just have to put Gasser on the IL, so that's not great news for this team. They are 36 and 26 in the season, and in general, their pitching staff hasn't been terrible. I mean, they are close to last in quality starts, but their earned run average as a team is 10th in the majors. They're, hovering around average. Not a lot of amazing news to report for this squad. I mean, in general, guys, looking at their bullpen, it is top 10 in the majors with a 3.75 bullpen ERA, so at least that's something, but not super excited about this pitching staff in general, and their hitting has been what it's kept them in it this season. I mean, they're a top 5 offense pretty clearly. I mean, they're 3rd in the majors in runs scored, 5th in the majors in batting average, and 3rd in the majors with a .330 on base percentage. So all of those numbers looking pretty good. The problem lately has been the offense has not been delivering. They've scored 0, 1, and 1 runs. So a total of 2 runs over 3 games there against the Phillies. So not exactly what this team had in mind. They're going to be taking on the Tigers in this game, who are coming into this one fresh off of a loss to the Rangers, but they won 2 out of 3 in that series, so I'm sure they're not too disappointed. They're 31 and 31 on the season, so probably going to have to improve on that a little bit. They're handing the ball to Reese Olson, who's 1 and 6 on the year, but the poor guy's got a 2.48 ERA. He is coming off of a bad start there at Boston, so he's in a bounce back position for sure, and he's pitching at home, but he's also pitching against a pretty tough opponent, but an opponent that's been having a really tough time at the plate. And besides that last start against Boston, he has been looking fantastic over his last 5 starts. So Reese Olson definitely looking good out there right now. In terms of their bullpen, guys, the Tigers haven't been awful either. They're kind of equivalent there to the Brewers. I mean, they're 9th in the majors in bullpen ERA with a 3.78 bullpen ERA. So nothing wrong with that at all. Their offense has not been great. They scored 1, 3, 2, and 8 runs over their last 4. They just had a series against the Rangers that they won 2-1, like I was talking about. They split a series at Boston, so they're probably pretty pumped to get back home. Looking at the numbers for this game, like I said, guys, there's no numbers yet. We're just putting this on there, so if we end up finding some value once the numbers come out, we'll go ahead and add that to the pinned comment tomorrow whenever the lines come out, if this ends up being a pinned comment play. Next on the docket, guys, we got the Minnesota Twins going on the road here to take on the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Twins come into this game fresh off of getting swept in a 3-game series there in New York, and now they have to go to Pittsburgh, so pretty different situation there. They're 33 and 29 on the season, handing the ball in this one to Joe Ryan, who's 4 and 4 in the year with a 3.38 ERA. He's coming off of a pretty bad start there against Houston. I mean, he was on the road for that one, so maybe that's not exactly his comfort zone. He went 5 innings, gave up 8 hits and 5 earned runs. He gave up 4 home runs in that game, which is pretty crazy. That is an awful lot of home runs to give up there. I mean, not too good, and also not too positive here looking at the Twins bullpen. I mean, it's not a disaster. A 4.20 bullpen ERA isn't the end of the world necessarily, but it's also not amazing. So once Joe Ryan's out of there, it's definitely not a big step up. And this offense, not doing terrible hitting the ball, really. I mean, they scored 5, 5, and 1 run there against the Yankees, so not the end of the world. Their series against Houston was fine, not amazing. This is looking like a team that's maybe slightly below average at the plate, which isn't necessarily what they've looked like all season. It's been a pretty streaky situation. I mean, they're 27th in the majors with a 228 team batting average, so that's pretty bad. Slugging percentage not looking terrible, but on-base percentage not looking too hot. Just not a team that brings a ton of guys up to the plate that you're going to be terrified of. So they're going to have to find a way to put together some runs here against the Pirates, who come into this game fresh off of a loss to the Dodgers. They did win 2 out of 3 in that series, though, so I'm sure they're happy with that result. They're 29 and 33 on the year, handing the ball in this one to Mitch Keller, who's 7 and 3 on the season with a 3.42 ERA, so not bad. not bad at all. His last time out back on the 1st, he went into Toronto and pitched great. He went 6 innings, gave up 5 hits, only a single earned run while striking out 8. And honestly, guys, over his last 5 starts, he's been pretty freaking dominant. I mean, he hasn't given up more than 2 earned runs in any of these starts, and he's averaging 1 earned run surrendered over his last 5 games. That is fantastic. And in general, guys, they're going to need pretty good pitching from their starters. I mean, their bullpen is slightly above average, 11th in the majors with a 3.87 bullpen ERA, so not terrible. Like, not a unit you're super scared to hand the ball to, but they're not exactly a team you can count on for tons of offensive production. I mean, they scored 7, 10, and 1 runs there against the Dodgers, who have been one of the weirdest teams over their last like 15 or 20 games, so kind of hard to figure out what that exactly means. I mean, the Pirates are hitting the ball a little bit better here as of late. They're up to 21st in the majors in runs scored. They're still down in the bottom third of the league pretty clearly in all the major statistical hitting categories. I mean, 27th in slugging percentage is not looking too hot. They're only getting on base at a 301 clip, so not exactly an offense we look at as a super premium one. And looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Twins at -126, the Pirates at +108, and we see an over-under in this game of 7.5. The Twins do come into this game really needing to pick up some wins, and they've been pretty good on the road. I mean, they're 17 and 15 on the road, so that's not bad at all. We also see the Twins showing numbers to the under, the Pirates to the over. I don't really have a big lean on the over-under in this game, guys. I'm definitely leaning towards the Pirates +108 in this game. I mean, with Keller out there on the mound, he's been looking so good, and the Twins are skidding right now. They've been a team that's shown us they can go on big losing streaks already this season, and I don't have a ton of faith in Joe Ryan, so go ahead and give me the Pirates +108 at home. This seems like a very reasonable spot. Moving right along, guys, we're looking at the Atlanta Braves going on the road here to take on the Washington Nationals. The Braves come into this game winners of their last one. They won 5-2 in game 1 of the series at Washington. We see Ozuna hit a home run. That's number 18 for him, so I'm sure he's feeling pretty good. And the Braves at 35 and 25 are off to a very respectable start. They're hitting the ball in this game to Chris Sale, who's coming off of a terrible performance, guys. He looked awful against, of all teams, the Oakland A's his last time out. He got absolutely shelled, and the dude has been absolutely dominant this season, so I expect him to bounce back here in a big way, unless he's like injured or something, which there really isn't any indication that's the fact right now. I mean, sometimes you just go out there and get knocked around no matter how good of a pitcher you are, and he has been fantastic over the course of this season. The Atlanta bullpen in general, guys, has been very good as well. I mean, they're top 3 in the majors with a 3.07 bullpen ERA, so nothing wrong with that. We see the bats heating up a little bit. I mean, they scored 5, 0, 8, 3, and 9 runs over their last 5, so that's not bad. Seeing Ozuna hit a home run there, maybe he's getting back on track a little bit. I mean, he's been great all season long, don't get me wrong, but he got off that insane start and he's cooled off since, so every time, you know, like, it just feels like he's not at the level that he started at, but nobody stays at the level that he started at this season. It was crazy. So this team, 18th in the majors in runs scored, but they are top 10 in both batting average and slugging percentage. I expect them to find a way to put up some runs here going up against the Washington Nationals, who come into this game on a 4-game losing streak. They're 27 and 35 in the year, handing the ball in this one to Jake Irvin, who's 3 and 5 this season with a 3.39 ERA. He's coming off a very good start at Cleveland, where he went 6 innings, gave up 2 earned runs on 5 hits. Yeah, not a bad outing, really. I mean, he had 6 strikeouts, not a bad start at all. Unfortunately for Irvin and for the Nationals in general, they're only 1 and 4 in his last 5 starts, and he's been very good over those 5 starts, so most of it hasn't been his fault. I mean, he did give up 4 earned runs to the Phillies back on the 17th, but it's the Phillies, so cutting him some slack on that one. The Nationals bullpen in general, guys, hasn't exactly been one you want to write home about. They're not terrible either. They're exactly league average, so it's not a disaster hitting the ball, but I mean, a team with a bullpen ERA of over 4 is not fantastic. This offense has not been delivering lately. I mean, they scored 2, 1, 3, and 7 runs over their last 4. I mean, they got swept by the Mets. That's not a sign of a team that's really swinging the hottest bats. So looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Braves at -205, the Nationals at +188. We got an over-under in this game of 8.5. I'm a little bit leaning here towards the under in this game, guys. I mean, I'm expecting Sale to bounce back and have a huge game. Do I expect the Braves to put up a ton of runs here against Jake Irvin? I certainly do not. So taking them at -205 is not appealing, or taking them -1.5 doesn't work for me either. Definitely leaning towards the under in this game, guys. Atlanta is 35, 22, and 2 to the under this year. We see Washington is also an under team, guys. They're 31, 26, and 4 to the under. So go ahead and give me the under in this game, guys. The only major fear I have is that the Nationals bullpen will allow a bunch of runs, but hopefully Jake Irvin goes deep enough into the game that that's not a major concern. Next on the docket, guys, we got the Baltimore Orioles going on the road here to take on the Tampa Bay Rays. This is another one of those games where we don't have the numbers for it, but we're including it just in case this is one we want to add in later. So keep an eye on that pinned comment throughout the day. The Orioles come into this game fresh off another loss. They lost 6-5 in game 4 of their series against Toronto, so they split that series 2 games apiece. They're handing the ball in this one to Cole Irvin, who is 5 and 2 on the year with a 2.84 ERA. The dude has been absolutely dealing lately. I mean, his last 2 starts have looked very good. He had a very good start there against Tampa Bay his last time out. I mean, I guess he gave up 8 hits, so maybe it's not an amazing start, but he pitched his way out of trouble whenever he needed to. 6 1/3, 8 hits, 2 earned runs. He did give up a home run, and he only struck out 1, but in general, this guy has been very, very good all season long. He definitely pitches to contact, but nothing wrong with that. And yeah, we can definitely feel like he's a plus level starter out there on the mound, and the Orioles bullpen ERA is only 3.29, so that's very, very solid. That's top 5 in the majors, so not a bullpen we're super scared of, and an offense that can definitely put up some numbers. They've scored 5, 2, 10, and 7 runs there over their last 4. In the series they just had against Tampa Bay, they scored 3, 9, and 3 runs respectively, so that's not terrible. This is a great slugging percentage team. They're 3rd in the majors in runs scored overall, 8th in the majors in batting average. Like, this is a very, very good hitting team. They're hoping they can pile up some runs here against the Rays, who've now won 3 in a row. I mean, they did only win 1 out of 3 in that series at Baltimore, but they're back home now, and they're hoping they can take advantage of that. They're 31-31 on the season, so definitely work to do for them. They're handing the ball in this game to Aaron Civale, who's 2-4 this season with a 5.37 ERA. In his start, the last time out, he was starting against the Orioles. He went 5 1/3, gave up 6 hits, only a single earned run, and very importantly here against the Orioles, he did not give up a home run. He struck out 3 and walked 1, so pretty positive things looking at that. I mean, not expecting Civale to have a ton of trouble here against the Orioles. In general, though, we're a little bit worried about the Rays bullpen. I mean, a 4.30 bullpen ERA has them 22nd in the majors, so that is not great. And this is also not an offense you can count on to put up a ton of runs. They scored 5, 9, and 4 runs over their last 3, but in general this season, guys, this has been a well below average offense. I mean, they're 23rd in runs scored, 26th in slugging percentage. They are getting on base at a league average 311 clip, but yeah, not exactly a team with a ton of killers on it up there at the plate, and I've got my concerns about this offense just in general. And looking at the numbers for this game, guys, like I said, there are none, but we just wanted to cover it in case this is a game we wanted to add in later in the day when we eventually do see the numbers come out. Next up, guys, we got a very exciting series to look at game 1 of. We've got the LA Dodgers going on the road here to take on the New York Yankees. The Dodgers come into this game fresh off of a win there at Pittsburgh. They won 11-7 to salvage a single win in that 3-game series, so not exactly what they had in mind there. And the Dodgers just have not looked great over their last, I don't know, it feels like a while now, at least the last 2 or 3 weeks. They're 39-25 in that year, handing the ball in this one to Yoshinobu Yamamoto. He's 6-2 this season with a 3.32 ERA, coming off of a good start there against Colorado. He gave up only a single run on 7 hits over 6 innings. Giving up 7 hits to the Rockies isn't great, but not terrible, and he pitched out of trouble, no problem with those 7 strikeouts, so he's looked good. We also see the Dodgers are 4-1 over his last 5 starts, so that's something positive. Not exactly a murderer's row of opponents there, and I mean, he had some trouble against the Giants, he had some trouble there against the Cincinnati Reds, so taking on the Yankees is going to be a whole new deal for him, so we'll see how he actually ends up looking out there. The Dodgers bullpen has been very good all season long, so if they have to resort to their bullpen, that's not a huge problem. And generally speaking, their bats are pretty good, or are supposed to be pretty good. They've had their struggles recently. I mean, they obviously scored 11 runs in their last game, so that's a step in the right direction of getting back on track here, but have not been having the best time in general lately, so we'll have to wait and see what they can do here going up against the Yankees, who come into this game fresh off of a sweep of the Twins. They've won 8 straight games, so has to feel pretty great about that. They're 49-19 on the season, handing the ball in this game to Cody Poteet, who is yet to figure in a result this season. Yeah, not exactly the Yankees' best starter, or most veteran starter, we'll say. He's made 2 starts this year against Cleveland back on the 13th of April, and then back on the 1st of this month, he had a start against the Giants where he looked very serviceable. He went 5 innings, gave up 3 hits, 2 earned runs. He did give up a home run in that outing, but he did strike out 6 and only walk 1, and he's taking on a Dodgers team which has to be a very scary opponent for him, but we'll just see how he does out there. I mean, the Yankees have one of the best, probably actually the best bullpen in Major League Baseball, guys, so I don't think we're too worried if they have to go to the bullpen early. We're just scared of Poteet getting banged up for a few runs early and putting the Yankees kind of behind the 8 ball there. Although that might not matter, guys, the Yankees offense is absolutely just going bonkers right now. I mean, we see Juan Soto killing it. We see Aaron Judge killing it. Soto did have to leave the game there with arm discomfort. It's a little bit vague what's actually going on with him. I mean, it seems fairly unlikely that he'll actually end up playing in this game. I don't know what's going on with it. It's just listed as arm soreness, so we'll see. Maybe he'll be fine. Maybe he'll be back for this game. I would kind of expect him to take a day off, but we'll just have to wait and see. And while the Yankees will certainly miss him, it might not be that big a deal, guys, because this team absolutely killing it at the plate. I mean, Aaron Judge is hitting the ball well enough. He can borderline carry a team. This team is 2nd in the majors in runs scored, 2nd in slugging percentage. They're 1st in on-base percentage. They could just flat out score some runs. Looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Dodgers at -106. The Yankees at minus 110, we see an over-under of 9. The Dodgers are 16 and 13 on the road, which isn't bad. The Yankees are 20 and 8 at home, which is obviously fantastic. Yeah, guys, I don't know. This is a tough spot with that whole Soto injury and with Poteet on the mound. It, scarily enough, makes me lean towards the Dodgers, so I guess that's my small lean in this game, but yeah, I'm not going to be on this one in general, guys. Not enough, too many weird variables that we don't know anything about. So until I get some clarity on that or something, and like, yeah, even with Poteet on the mound, that makes things weird. So slight lean towards the Dodgers, but very, very slight. I'm not going to be playing this game in general myself. Next on the docket, guys, we got the Chicago Cubs going on the road here to take on the Cincinnati Reds. We saw the Cubs take the 8-4 loss in game 1 of this series. They're down to 31 and 32 on the year, which has to feel pretty freaking bad. They're handing the ball in this game to Justin Steele. He's 0-2 this season with a 4.10 ERA, coming off of a weird start there against Cincinnati back on the first, where he went 5 innings, gave up 7 hits, 5 runs, only 1 of them was earned. He walked 4 and struck out 5 in that game. It was a letdown spot after a great start there against Milwaukee, but in general, over his last 5 starts, he has not been having a good time. Had a lot of trouble there against the Pirates in back-to-back starts against the Pirates, and now he's going to be making back-to-back starts against the Reds. I think that might be a recipe for some trouble there for him. The Cubs bullpen in general, guys, isn't necessarily one that I'm super stoked about. I mean, they're 12th in the majors with a 3.91 bullpen ERA, so, you know, not a disaster necessarily, but also not, you know, not incredible, not something I'm super scared of. And yeah, looking at the Cubs offense, definitely not an offense that I'm scared of. I mean, they did score 4 runs in the first game of the series, which isn't terrible for them. They scored 7 runs in each game of that 2-game series against the White Sox, but yeah, in their series just a few days ago against the Red Sox, they didn't score that many runs, and yeah, they're just not looking good. League average in runs scored, league average in on-base percentage, 25th in the majors, batting .228 as a team. That is a big yikes from me. Just not very high here on the Cubs offense, and they're taking on a Reds team that's kind of had their number lately and has been playing some of their best ball of the season. They've now won 5 in a row. They've won 6 out of their last 7, so that all has to feel fantastic. They're up to 30 and 33 on the year. Handing the ball in this one to Nick Lodolo, who's 5-2 this season with a 3.11 ERA, coming off of a good start there against the Cubs. He did give up 7 hits in that outing, but he struck out 3, only allowed 2 earned runs, and he did eat up 6 innings, and he didn't give up a home run in that game, so he looked pretty good out there, and he's looked good in his last 2 starts. 3 out of his last 5 starts, he's looked pretty good, and the bad ones were at the Giants, who are a pretty hard-hitting team, and then against the Baltimore Orioles, who are also a very good hitting team. So in general, we're definitely pretty happy to see Lodolo out there on the mound. In terms of their bullpen, the Reds bullpen is slightly above average, not terrible, so definitely give them some credit there. And their bats really seem to be coming alive, guys. They've scored 8, 12, 4, and 13 runs over their last 4. Absolutely killing it right now. We've seen Elly De La Cruz hit another couple home runs. Seems like things are definitely pointed in the right direction for this offense. I mean, they're up to 15th in the majors in runs scored. That is a very positive trend right now. They're definitely a big number that's pointed up. Their team batting average is improving. Just not a lot of negatives here to find with Cincinnati right now. They're swinging the bats well. And looking at the numbers for this game, guys, I'm pretty shocked to see the Reds at minus 106, the Cubs at minus 105, and an over-under of 8.5. The only part of this that makes any sense to me is that standard over-under. But guys, we're going to be on the Cincinnati Reds at home again today. They looked very, very good. I think they're in great shape in this series. The Cubs are not firing on all cylinders right now. I do not trust Justin Steele out there on the mound at all. So go ahead and give me the Reds minus 106. They're in a fantastic spot in this one. Moving right along here, guys, we're looking at the Cleveland Guardians going on the road to take on the Miami Marlins. The Guardians come into this game fresh off of a 4-3 loss there to the Kansas City Royals. They didn't look great in that game. They're 40-21 on the season, though, so nothing wrong with that. They're handing the ball in this one to Logan Allen. He's 6-3 this year with a 5.83 ERA, so pretty inflated ERA right there, and his last start has a lot to do with that, guys. He got absolutely shelled at Colorado. He only lasted 1 2/3 innings, gave up 6 hits, 7 earned runs. He gave up a home run in that game, walked 2 and only struck out 1. A steep, drastic departure from his last starts. His 3 starts before that were all very, very good. He had his last start at home. He looked very, very good. Obviously, he's on the road again in this one, but he had a great road start there against the Chicago White Sox. So he's been a little bit inconsistent, don't get me wrong, but he hasn't been nearly as bad as the last start would seem to indicate. And the Guardians' bullpen has been very good. Definitely a top 5 bullpen in the MLB. Their offense hasn't looked terrible, but hasn't looked amazing lately. I mean, 3, 8, 2, 3, and 7 runs over their last 5. So not really a disaster. They're 3rd in the majors in runs scored over the course of the season. Team batting average has taken quite a bit of a hit, though. It's down to 238. That's not great, but On base percentage of .315 is good. Jose Ramirez is a monster. He's hitting the ball well all season long, so definitely a big positive every time you see him come to the bat for Cleveland. So they're going to probably feel pretty decent here going up against the Marlins team, who's now lost 4 in a row. They just lost 2 in a row to the Rays. Before that, they had lost 2 out of 3 to the Rangers. Their offense is having a terrible time lately. They're 21-41 on the season, kind of having the year you guys would have expected. They're handing the ball in this game to Ryan Weathers, who's 3-5 this season with a 3.41 ERA. He's coming off a pretty bad start there against the Rangers. He gave up 9 hits and 4 earned runs over 6 innings of work. He did manage to strike out 11, but man, if he doesn't strike you out, you've got a really good chance of getting a hit off of him. So yeah, I mean, lately he's looked pretty decent. His 4 starts before that were all very good. Maybe that start at the Dodgers wasn't amazing, but in general, he's looked decent lately. And the Miami bullpen, maybe not quite as bad as you would expect it to be. I mean, in general, guys, we're looking at a team with a bullpen ERA of around 3.75, so you know, not terrible, not a complete disaster like some of the other things on this team, like their bats, which have been pretty bad lately. I mean, they scored 3, 6, 0, and 0 runs over their last 4 games, all of which were losses. They've got nobody out there that we're really scared to see come to the plate. They're almost last in the majors in runs scored. They're second to last also in on-base percentage, getting on base at a .289 clip. Like, that is all just terrible. And looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Guardians at -115, the Marlins at +102. We see an over-under of 8 or 7.5. Cleveland is a decent road team, guys, for sure. Maybe closer to great road team, actually. I mean, they're 19-13 on the road, which is definitely good. No problems with that from me. Miami's only 11-23 at home. Looking at the numbers for this game, seeing the Guardians at -115 and the Marlins at +102. Definitely leaning towards the Guardians in this one pretty hard. I don't know if this will make it into the pinned comment because Logan Allen is kind of a little bit unreliable out there at times, but going up against the Marlins, I think he's in for a very good day, and I do expect the Guardians to be able to score some runs here against the Marlins, that should put them in a very good position to come away with this win. Next on the docket, guys, we got the San Francisco Giants going on the road to take on the Texas Rangers. The Giants come into this game fresh off of a losing streak that was getting pretty extended there. They snapped it, though, with a 9-3 win at Arizona to salvage a single win in that series. They're down to 30-33 on the year, not having a great time. They're handing the ball to Logan Webb, hoping he can kind of right the ship or keep the ship righted for them. He's 4-5 this season with a 2.95 ERA, coming off of a kind of mediocre start there against the Yankees. I mean, not terrible. It was the Yankees after all. He went 7 innings, gave up 7 hits, 4 earned runs, and 6 strikeouts. He did give up a home run in that game, so that's not great, but all 4 of his starts before that, including a start against the Dodgers, went very, very well. Unfortunately, the dude's getting very little run support, and we see that he is 1-4, or the Giants, I mean, are 1-4 over his last 5 starts. So obviously, that's not amazing. In terms of their bullpen, the Giants are a little bit above average, but nothing exactly to write home about, and their hitting hasn't been great. I mean, they did just score 9 runs, but they scored 9, 5, 2, 5, and 3 runs over their last 5 games, so that's not great. Nobody's exactly hitting the cover off the ball for them right now. They're 12th in the majors in runs scored, 7th in on-base percentage, and 9th in batting average, so those are some, relatively positive numbers, but don't have a ton of great things to say about this offense right now necessarily. Not having the easiest time. They're going up against the Rangers, who come into this game 30-32 on the season, fresh off a 9-1 win to salvage a single game there again in their series against the Tigers. 30-32, probably not exactly where they want to be. They're handing the ball in this one to Michael Lorenzen. He's 3-3 this year with a 2.96 ERA, coming off of a dazzling start there against Miami, where he went 6 1/3 innings, gave up no runs. He did give up 5 hits, so maybe dazzling's a little bit of an overstatement, but 7 strikeouts, 2 walks, not terrible. We did see his team get the win in that one, so that's something positive. But overall, he's looked very, very good over his last 4 starts. So definitely give him credit there. He's looked definitely above average. So in general, the Rangers bullpen has been about average, maybe slightly below average this season. So don't feel great once Lorenzen comes out of there, but they are going up against the Giants, who are a pretty decent hitting team. But in general, the Rangers have not been hitting the ball well themselves. I mean, they scored 9, 1, and 1 runs in their series there against the Tigers. So not exactly an offense that's swinging the hottest bats. Looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Rangers at +106 at home, the Giants -115 there on the road. We see over-unders out there of 8 or 7.5. The Giants are a pretty bad road team, guys. They're only 13-19 on the road. We see the Giants as a slight, maybe borderline significant over team. We see the Rangers as a big under team. They're 37-23-2 to the under. And with the Giants not necessarily swinging the hottest bats over the last 4 or 5 games, I'm leaning towards under 8. We've got 2 pretty solid starters out there. In terms of a side in this game, I don't have a great read. I tend to lean a little bit towards the Rangers +106 at home, since the Giants are so bad on the road. But yeah, guys, in general, I'm not going to be betting the over-under or the side in this game. This is going to be like a leave it alone spot for me. Next on the docket, guys, we're looking at the Boston Red Sox going on the road to take on the Chicago White Sox. We saw the Red Sox get the crazy 14-2 win in Game 1 of this series. They've looked nuts over their last 2 games, scoring 9 and 14 runs respectively. They're hitting the ball in this one to Cooper Criswell, who's 3-2 this season with a 3.92 ERA. He's coming off of a good start there against Detroit, where he went 5 innings, gave up 4 hits, only a single run, while striking out 5 and walking 1. So not a bad start, and he needed a bounce back after getting shelled there by the Baltimore Orioles. So yeah, that was a nightmare start for him against the Orioles, but he figured things out there against the Tigers. Not the best hitting team, but he's going up against one of the worst hitting teams in the majors in this one. And in general, guys, the Boston bullpen hasn't been amazing. I mean, a 4.30 bullpen ERA, not exactly something to write home about. I mean, yeah, just not a great bullpen. Not a great bullpen. They've had a lot of injuries this season, so they have some excuse, but right now what's carrying them is the offense. The offense is looking absolutely out of this world over the last 2 games, just killing the ball. They're up to 12th in the majors in runs scored, and yeah, just got to feel good about how they're swinging the bats right now. I mean, 14 and 9 runs respectively. That's 2 pretty good games. The question is, can they keep it rolling here? And they're going up against a Chicago White Sox team that is now on a 14-game losing streak. A streak that's got to end someday, but man, I don't know if it's going to be today, guys, because it just has not been a good time to be a White Sox fan at all. They're handing the ball in this one to Garrett Crochet, who's 5-5 this year with a 3.49 ERA. He's coming off of a great start there against Milwaukee. He's been one of the rare, bright spots here for the Chicago White Sox this season. Over his last 5 starts, he has not allowed more than 2 earned runs. He had a 3-start stretch there where he didn't give up a run, so that was pretty crazy stuff. His last 2 starts have been against the Brewers and the Baltimore Orioles, and he gave up a grand total of 3 earned runs over 12 innings of work. Like, Crochet is the real deal. He is an absolute monster out there, so he's a big part of the reason the numbers for this game look the way that they do. The White Sox bullpen is pretty terrible, so once Crochet comes out of the game, lots of question marks for me on who's going to be able to come away with the win. So looking at the White Sox offense, not going to waste a lot of time on that, guys. They've scored 2, 6, 6, 3, and 3 runs over their last 5. By all the statistical categories, they are the worst hitting team in baseball, and I think the eye test backs that up. This is a terrible, terrible offensive team. Looking at the numbers for this game, guys, the Red Sox are minus 105. The White Sox are minus 106. We got an over-under in this game of 7.5. Boston is a very solid road team. They're 17-13 on the road. White Sox are the worst home team in the MLB. They're 10-21 at home. We're going to be leaning towards the Red Sox minus 105 in this game. It's way too cheap of a price. Even if Crochet dominates out there in the beginning of this game, eventually he's going to have to come out. Eventually we'll see the bullpen in there. So go ahead and give me the Red Sox minus 105 with a decent chance to end up in the pinned comment. Rounding into the home stretch here, guys, we're looking at the Seattle Mariners going on the road to take on the Kansas City Royals. The Mariners come into this game fresh off of a 3-0 win there to finish off their series at Oakland. They won 2 out of 3 in that series, and they're up to 36-28 this season, cruising along there in the top spot in the AL West. They're handing the ball in this game to Bryce Miller, who's 5-5 this season with a 3.18 ERA. He's coming off of a shutout performance against the Angels. He went 6 innings, gave up 3 hits, and struck out 9, and did not give up a single run. So very, very good there. It's a game that we saw the Mariners win 9-0, so they actually hit the ball pretty well in that game. He's looked good in his last 2 starts, but the 2 starts before that weren't so hot, albeit those were starts at Yankee Stadium and at Camden Yards, so not exactly the easiest places and the easiest teams to pitch against. And in general, the Seattle bullpen has been pretty good this season. No big surprise there. I mean, they're around the top 5 in the majors. This is not a bad bullpen whatsoever, and these guys, they haven't been hitting the ball great. They did not score a ton of runs. I mean, they only scored 8 total runs in that series against the Oakland A's, but this hasn't been a good offense all season long, and they've still managed to win 5 of their last 6 games overall. They're 27th in the majors in runs scored, 29th in batting average, 26th in on-base percentage. Like, this just is not a team you can count on to put up a ton of runs, really, regardless of who they're going up against. I mean, like any team, they'll have their moments, but not a squad that you can expect to score a lot. And they're taking on the Royals, a team that's been kind of all over the place this season, but mostly pointed in a positive direction. They're coming off of a 4-3 win there at Cleveland. They won 1, lost 1, and had 1 get postponed in that series. So they're 37-26 this year, handing the ball in this game to Daniel Lynch the fourth. He's 0-0, so hasn't figured in a result this season with a 1.50 ERA. He's going to be making his second start, his 4th total appearance. His last time out, he looked pretty decent at the Twins. He went 5 innings, gave up 5 hits, only 2 earned runs. He did give up 2 home runs in that outing, so not deal. The Twins are a team that can hit it a little bit, like they've got decent power numbers, so he's going to need to figure that out. He got his season off to a great start back on the 5th where he started. He went 5 innings, gave up only 2 hits, no runs against the Texas Rangers, and he's facing a pretty light hitting team in this one, so he probably doesn't feel bad about that. Also, the Royals bullpen is very good. A 3.57 bullpen ERA is nothing to turn your nose up at. This team hasn't been swinging the hottest bats lately. I mean, 4 runs, 5 runs, 4 runs, 3 runs over the last few games. Not amazing. This has been a good offense at times this season. They went on long stretches where they've hit the ball really, really well, but that doesn't exactly seem like what's going on right now. I mean, yeah, Bobby Witt Jr. is killing it for sure. Definitely give him credit there. I mean, 302 runs scored has them 7th in the majors this season, but not swinging the hottest bats at this exact moment. And looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see some pretty interesting things. First of all, we see the Mariners at minus 130, the Royals at plus 118. Getting the Royals at a plus number at home is always pretty appealing. I mean, they're 22-10 at home. The Mariners are only 14-17 on the road, but the numbers that I'm really interested in this game, guys, is the over-under. We currently have an over-under number listed for this game of 9.5. Yeah, that's wild to me. We see Seattle, they're 37-23-3 to the under. The Royals are 34-27-2 to the under. Neither team is swinging a hot bat right now. We see a very solid starter out there for the Mariners. We see a young guy that looks pretty good for the Royals. Both teams have good bullpens. Guys, we're slamming on under 9.5 in this game. If you wanted to take the under in the first 5 or anything like that, I think that's good. I think no run first inning is also good in this game. Go ahead and give me under 9.5 though for my play. I don't think we're going to see very much offense in this game in general at all. Moving right along here, guys, we're looking at the Colorado Rockies going on the road to take on the St. Louis Cardinals. We saw the Rockies get the 3-2 win in game 1 of this series. They're only 22-40 this year, so not having a great time. Handing the ball in this one to Austin Gomber. He's 1-3 on the year with a 3.06 ERA. He's coming off of a very rough start there against the Dodgers. His last time out, he went 3 innings, gave up 5 hits, 3 earned runs, gave up 2 home runs in that one. So not a great outing at all. But other than that, over his last 5, he's looked very, very good. And he's looked good this season in general. I mean, back on the 22nd, he went 8 innings, gave only a single earned run to the Oakland A's. And overall, this guy has just been good this season. I mean, he's pitching for a pretty bad team, no doubt about it. The Rockies bullpen, also shocker of the year, not exactly a great one. Around one of the worst 3 or 4 bullpens in the major leagues. And the offense hasn't been very good either. I mean, they only scored 3 runs in game 1 of this series. They scored 12 in their last game there against Cincinnati. So we'll give them some credit there, but yeah, just not a lot of big positives here for this offense. I mean, 22nd in runs scored, 11th in batting average. They've been hovering around the top 10 in batting average all year, so we'll give them that, but not an offense I'm particularly scared of. But they're going up against a team that struggles to produce offense in the St. Louis Cardinals, who are 29-32 on the year after taking the loss in this game 1 yesterday. They're handing the ball in this one to Lance Lynn. He's 2-3 on the season with a 3.23 ERA. Honestly, he hasn't been terrible. They've kind of, he's kind of reviving his career a little bit so far this season. His last time out against the Phillies is a start that's pretty weird. He gave up 4 runs, all of which were unearned though, on 3 hits. He went 4 innings and had 4 strikeouts. In a game, we saw the Cardinals actually end up winning in extra innings against the Phillies. So, I mean, props to him there. His starts before that have looked decent. I mean, he had a good start against the Baltimore Orioles, which is a great hitting team. So some positives, some negatives for Lance Lynn this season. The Cardinals bullpen overall isn't looking amazing, isn't looking terrible. It's hovering around league average there. Kind of tend to lean towards they're not a great bullpen, and this team has not been a great offense, guys. They've scored 2, 4, 5, and 4 runs over their last 4 games. They're 28th in the majors in runs scored, 21st in the majors in on-base percentage. Just not expecting this team to score a lot of runs, guys. Arenado and Goldschmidt both seem like they're going to have down seasons, and that is pretty much a doomsday switch here for the Cardinals. So looking at the numbers for this one, we see the Rockies at plus 165, the Cardinals at minus 188, and we've got an over-under of 7.5. I'm definitely leaning towards Colorado plus 165 in this game. Will this end up in the pinned comment? Probably not, due to the fact that Colorado is only 8-23 on the road. The Cardinals are 13-12 at home, so that's something to take into consideration. But with such a solid starter out there for the Rockies and the Cardinals offense not looking great and their bullpen being pretty questionable, I mean, both teams have terrible bullpens. That's another reason this won't end up in the pinned comment. But I'm definitely, if you're wanting to bet this game, leaning towards the Rockies plus 165 as being the better value. Next up, guys, we look at the Houston Astros going on the road here to take on the Los Angeles Angels. The Astros come coming to this game fresh off of losing game 3 of their series there against the Cardinals, but they won 2 out of 3 in that series. They've won 3 out of their last 5 overall. They're 28-35 in the year, so still 7.5 games back there in the AL West. Handing the ball in this one to Framber Valdez. He's 4-3 this season with a 3.95 ERA, coming off of a very, very good start against the Twins. He went 7 innings, gave up 2 hits, only a single earned run. He struck out 4 and walked 2. Over his last couple starts, he's looked decent. He had that terrible start against the Angels. He's been a little bit inconsistent this year, but in general has been pretty good. I mean, not bad out there. Not somebody you're too worried to have on the mound. Not as worried as you are about the Houston bullpen that's kind of been trending towards the bottom third of the league, so that's a bit concerning, but they haven't been awful, so we're not too scared about that. The real inconsistency has been the Astros hitters. Their offense, with great numbers on paper, just finds ways to not put up runs. They only scored 2 runs in their last game there against the Cardinals, but scored 15 runs combined over the 2 games before that. So they've got the potential to put up some runs. They just don't always come through on it. I mean, this team's 2nd in the majors in batting average, 6th in the majors in on-base percentage, and 4th in the majors in slugging percentage, and somehow they find a way to be 10th in the majors in runs scored. So just not having the best time out there. Not an offense that I can really trust. They're going up against the Angels, a team that you can't trust in general, but also a team that's coming off of a sweep there against the San Diego Padres. They won 2-1, 4-2, and 3-2. They're only 24-38 this year, so not having a great time. Handing the ball in this one to Griffin Canning. He's 2-5 with a 4.69 ERA. He's coming off a dazzling start there against the Mariners. Maybe not dazzling considering the fact that it's the Mariners, but he gave up only a single earned run over 6 2/3. And he gave up 4 hits in that one. He's looked very solid over his last 5 starts in general. He even had a pretty decent start there against the Yankees, where he only gave up 3 earned runs against the Yankees, which is definitely a positive outing considering how good the Yankees are. However, the Angels bullpen is a disaster. Definitely a bottom 5 or 6 bullpen, and not a lot of positives for them. And the offense has been all over the place this year, and yeah, not exactly looking amazing, scoring 3, 4, and 2 runs there against the Padres. That was just a collapse job by the Padres against a not very good pitching staff. So yeah, I don't know, guys. This is a little bit of a weird spot. Hard to know what direction to think that the Angels are pointed in right now. I think the Astros are pretty solidly pointed up, but they're only 9-17 on the road. So if you're forcing me to bet this game, guys, I think there's some value on the Astros minus 185, but I'm not going to be betting it myself. In general, the over-unders in this one are 8.5 or 8. We see the Angels are, they're 32-29-1 to the over, but we see the Astros are a MLB best 37-23-3 to the under. So maybe there's some value in under 8.5, but overall, guys, this is really just a stay away spot for me. Don't think there's a ton of good things happening in this game. Next on the docket, guys, we've got the Arizona Diamondbacks going on the road to take on the San Diego Padres. The Diamondbacks coming to this game 30-33 on the year, fresh off of winning 3 out of 4 there, or winning 2 out of 3 against the San Francisco Giants, and then starting things off with a 4-3 win there over the Padres. In this series, they are handing the ball in this one to Brandon Pfaadt. He's 2-4 this year with a 4.32 ERA, coming off of a kind of back-to-back medium level starts. I mean, he gave up 4 runs on 6 hits over 7 innings to the Rangers. Then at the Mets, he went 6 innings, gave up 4 earned runs on 5 hits. Like, you don't want to be giving up that many runs to the Mets. Like, not a great hitting team. We do see that the Diamondbacks have won 3 out of his last 5 starts, so that's something to take into consideration, I suppose. Arizona's bullpen in general, guys, not exactly the best. I mean, around 23rd, something like that in the majors with a 4.42 bullpen ERA, so not great there. And their offense hasn't exactly been killing it over the course of this season necessarily. They've been wildly all over the place. I mean, over the last few games, they scored 4, 3, 8, 4, and 5 runs respectively. They're 8th in the majors. Like, they've been holding on to a top 10 spot and runs scored all year long. They're 8th in on-base percentage, which is part of the reason they've been able to do that. They've been maintaining good on-base percentage numbers, but this is an offense I necessarily trust here, even going up against the Padres, who've been a really weird team, guys. They're on a 5-game losing streak. They're handing the ball in this game to Michael King. He is off to a 4-4 start with a 3.82 ERA. He's coming off back-to-back very good starts, though. He looked great against the Royals, went 7 innings, gave up 4 hits, only a single earned run in a game that we saw them eventually lose to the Royals there 4-3, so that's got to be kind of depressing. We do see the Padres are 3-2 over his last 5 starts, so I guess that's something. In general, the Padres bullpen has not been exactly great, guys. I mean, they're somewhere around league average, not really a bullpen that you're super excited to see take over from your starter, but not that their starters have been that incredible either, and their hitters have not been having a good time at all. I mean, 3, 2, 2, 1, and 3 runs over their last 5 games, all of which were losses, so most of the blame here for all these problems can go on the offense. We see Machado is listed as day-to-day with a hip flexor strain, so we're not 100% sure if he's going to be out there for this game or not. Looking at the numbers for this one, we see the Diamondbacks plus 105, the Padres at minus 118, and an over-under in this game of 7.5. Yeah, guys, not really interested in this one either direction. I mean, I guess you could take the Diamondbacks since they're playing well and the Padres are struggling, but I don't think the Diamondbacks have that big of an advantage on the mound. So overall, this is just kind of a stay away spot for me. Don't trust either one of these teams. Last but not least, guys, we got the Toronto Blue Jays going on the road here to take on the Oakland A's. Toronto comes into this game fresh off of winning 2 in a row there to close that series out against Baltimore, ending up 2-2. So I think they would have took that going into that series for sure. They're 32-30 on the year though, so not great. Handing the ball in this one to Chris Bassitt. He's 6-6 this season with a 4.13 ERA, coming off of a kind of weird start there against the Pirates. He gave up 8 hits, only 3 earned runs on those 8 hits, and went 5 innings. He looked very, very good. I mean, he's looked very serviceable over his last 5 starts. Not exactly a murderer's row that he's faced, but he did have a very good start back on the 8th of last month against the Phillies. So gonna give the old guy some credit here. He is definitely a veteran out there, 35 years old. He's a big guy. He's throwing the ball relatively well, so all credit to him right now. And in terms of their bullpen, Toronto is not a great bullpen. I'd say bottom third of the majors in their bullpen, but not a complete disaster, but not a fantastic bullpen. Their offense has been coming alive a bit. I mean, they scored 6, 3, 1, and 2 runs over their series against Baltimore, which I know it's a little bit sad to say that's coming alive for an offense, but for an offense that's struggled basically all season long, that is definitely some positives there for them. So they're going to hope they can keep things rolling here against the Oakland A's, who come to this one fresh off of a 3-0 loss to the Seattle Mariners. They won 1 out of 3 in that series. They won 1 out of 3 in their series before that. Not having a great time this year overall. They're handing the ball to Hogan Harris. He's looking for his first result of the season. He just made his first start back on the 30th of last month. He went 5 2/3 innings, gave up a single earned run, but 3 runs overall, gave up 2 home runs. All of that was at Tampa Bay, so not exactly the hardest hitting team. So some concern there for sure. The Oakland A's bullpen hasn't been amazing. I mean, they're definitely below league average. Not a ton, but below average for sure. And their offense is well below league average, guys. I mean, 26th in the majors in runs scored, 28th in the majors, batting .223 as a team. They're 28th in on-base percentage. This is a team that definitely was giving the White Sox, a run for their money early in the year as maybe the worst offense in the majors. They're better than that, clearly, but not by a crazy wide margin. And look at the numbers for this game, guys. We see the Blue Jays at minus 130. We see the A's at plus 114. We see an over-under in this game of 7.5. Definitely leaning towards the Toronto Blue Jays on the road in this game. I think Bassitt is definitely at least equal, if not better than Harris out there in terms of being a good starter. Not super high on Hogan Harris. Not super high here on Bassitt, but I definitely like the Blue Jays minus 130 in this game. That seems like a very reasonable price, and this game has a very reasonable shot to end up there in the pinned comment. That's all the games we have for today, guys. Hit that like button for good luck on all of your bets and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let me know in the comments any questions you have on today's slate. Don't forget to check that pinned comment as the day goes on. Thanks for watching. You can click the link in the description to check out StumpTheSpread.com, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for more sports betting action.